Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to watch the Portrait Profit Show. I'm glad you're here. Today we have an interesting topic, one called Your Compelling Description. And the reason why I think that it's important is because your first few moments that you come across a person are really important, and how you speak and what it is that you say could cause them to really remember you more than they would otherwise. I mean, they've got a million things going on in their lives, a million things, just like you. You've got a million things going on in your lives. And aren't there times when someone you've just been introduced to someone, or you just met someone, and within moments, you've already forgotten their name. Maybe there's something about what they said that caused you to remember. We're going to be talking about that. And before we do, I want to tell you a little bit about what Portrait Profits is all about, just in case. So Portrait Profits is a show that is based on two local photography services. One is Landers Photography School, which you can see on my sign behind me, and the other is Digital Pro Lab. And we have gotten together to uplift the photography community. We've been doing this all along, but especially now, we really want to do this to help out the photography community. And here, as a representative of the Digital Pro Lab, is Javi Valdez. Javi, would you say a few words?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Yeah, like Jim was saying, we kind of put our heads together on this one, but I guess probably a few months ago now. I think I was uploading some more of our over on our YouTube and as Jim's as well. We've got all of these kind of archived and cataloged back there, but I think we're up to like 14 episodes. I think this might be the 15th. So it's been a few months that we've been doing this now, but we put our heads together, and we really wanted to put something together for you guys that was going to help enrich the San Antonio photography community, uplift, all that kind of good stuff. And so, Jim does a really great job every week of giving you guys another new nugget of information to help kind of further your careers as photographers from the business perspective, which again, I say it every week, but I think, there's not enough of this content out there. And he's doing a great job of filling that gap. And so, we want to be a resource here at Digital Pro Lab for you guys beyond just printing. Obviously, if you have any questions about printing, come talk to me. I can talk to you about paper all day. I can talk to you about ICC profiles and making sure that we get you, the best screen to print and match that is possible. Those are great conversations to have as well. But we also want to be giving you guys tools to help, even outside of the lab, because we know here at the lab, as a lab who does printing for our clients, whenever you guys are doing, really well in your businesses, it trickles down to us. And so the more that we can bolster you guys, it's a win-win for everybody. And so we want to make sure that this content is easily accessible, and free to the public. And so we're really happy to be able to do this. If you don't know me, I know pretty much everybody here on the Zoom probably knows me by now, but for anyone watching on Facebook or wherever you might be, my name's Javi Valdez. I'm the Director of Client Development here at the lab. My job essentially is to just work with any of our new clients. So whether you're new to printing, or maybe you're familiar with printing, but you've never printed with us before, or you've got a big project coming up that you're trying to get prints made for, I work with everybody on getting them set up with our system, and kind of just optimizing our services to any particular client to make sure that they know how they can take full advantage of us and our services. And so if this sounds like something that you might be interested in, if you want to have the conversation about how you can get set up with Digital Pro Lab, I'm going to put my email in the chat. For those who don't have access to the chat, that's going to be Javi, Javi at digitalprolab.com. You can always send me an email, and I'll get back to you there, and we can hopefully set up some time for you to either come by the lab or maybe hop on a phone call and just kind of get to know each other a little bit better, so I can hear about your printing needs and how we might be able to best partner together to help further your career and your business. So again, Jim, thanks so much for doing this.
Well, thank you, Javi. Digital Pro Lab does a lot for the photographer community. And so, I have this belief that we should go local if we can go local. I know there's things that you can't go local with, but as photographers, and let's say you're a portrait photographer, people have hired you because you're local. There's other options. They don't have to choose a local option, but they have. And so I think we should hire our vendors with the same spirit. Hire local, work with locals. And besides, man, we've got great vendors here in San Antonio, and Digital Pro Lab is certainly at the top. They've done so much for the photography community. They continue to do so much. They care. If you will reach out to them, they will do everything in their power to help. And so we have a real wonderful thing in Digital Pro Lab, and the San Antonio photography community is grateful to have Digital Pro Lab here. So thank you, Javi, as the representative. I am going to, right now, if you're here on the Zoom call, you're going to get access to the handout. Sorry if you're on Facebook, I'm not able to do a whole bunch of things at one time, so I'm not really monitoring the Facebook, but I'm glad you're here if you're on Facebook. If the advantage to coming in on Zoom is you can interact, you can ask questions, and get the handouts that we have every week. So you guys, I'm going to give a couple of announcements while you download that handout for today and print it out if you want to. But during that time you do that, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. I'm going to share my screen. One of the things that we do here at Landers Photography School is help people in business. And that's the same thing that one of the things that Javi was talking about with Digital Pro Lab. But we've got lots of classes on the business side, and we even have a free business assessment consultation. I give you 30 minutes of my time, and we just talk about you, your goals, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And we form a basic path of how to get there, what kind of needs you're going to have, what kind of considerations you need to be thinking about. You can't do a whole lot, of course, in a half an hour, but when you have two people working together on the same thing, you've got that cliche of two heads are better than one. And so take advantage of that by going to, and you can see the address down here at the bottom, calendly.com/photoschool/30-minute-appointment. That's how you get me for half an hour. Stop that share and move on to the next one. While you guys are printing that handout, I want to tell you about the annual San Antonio Photography Tournament. I want to show the next one. There we go. All right, so there's two annual San Antonio Photography Tournaments every year. You may think, if it's called annual, shouldn't it be called biannual if there's two? Well, one's for kids, one's for everybody else. And the next one coming up is on July 18th. That's the third annual San Antonio Youth Photo Tournament. And it is for kids age 5 to 15. Put this on your calendar, Sunday, July 18th, 2021. And it's virtual. It's using Zoom. It's fun. The kids get 10 categories. The regular version gets 15. But you get that list that day. You don't have it to prepare ahead of time. It's an instant gratification photographer's challenge. And so you get the list at the beginning. You go and you photograph it in your environment, wherever you are, home, at a park, on vacation. As long as you have access to internet, you can participate in this. And then you upload those photographs where judges are going to be judging instantly. Takes them about 2 hours, but still they're there, ready to go. And by 2 o'clock, we're going to start announcing the winners, handing out prizes and certificates. It all happens in one day. That's why it's called the Instant Gratification Photographer's Challenge. And that's the kids version, again, on Sunday, July 18th, ages 5 to 15. But we also have the regular version, the 9th annual San Antonio Photo Tournament on Sunday, October 17th. So make sure you're putting that on your calendar, Sunday, October 17th. And the same rules as I just mentioned. You get the list at the beginning at 8 o'clock in the morning, about 8:30, we let you go. But you get that list that day. You go and you photograph it. You submit the images. The judges judge. We announce the winners, and then it's over by 3, 4 o'clock. It's over. It's done. It's not a popularity contest trying to get all your friends to like it on Facebook. Nope. This is all done all at one time. Again, the 9th annual San Antonio photo tournament, Sunday, October 17th of this year. So I'm assuming you guys have had enough time to download that handout. So I'm going to move right into today's subject of the called Your Compelling Description. And I'm going to put it up on my screen. That way you guys can see it on Facebook. All right, so you should be able to see that now. Those of you who are on the Zoom call, does that look large enough on your screen, or do I need to make it bigger?
Maybe make it a little larger, Jim.
A little bigger? Okay. Does that do the trick?
Still the same size.
I wonder if there's a delay. It's at 150% now.
I see it bigger.
Does it? Okay, good. Perfect. It's nearly filling my screen, so I can't make it much bigger.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope you guys can see that well. Thank you for helping me with that. So again, today's topic is your compelling description. And if you're curious about that photograph, I chose it specifically because it was very steamy. This is my brother, and we were hiking in Arkansas. This was this past August, so not that long ago. And we found this. This is a common trail, but on this trail, there were lots of caves that at one time had been all underground, but now were partially exposed, so you could go in and through them. But there was a creek running through it, and it was very steamy. It was very steamy. And so when I photographed him, I'm photographing him through that steam. And so that's what you're seeing on the edge. That's not a filter. That's not something I did in post. That's how it was. That's what it looked like. But I chose it because most of us have a description of ourselves that is kind of on the foggy side. It's not all that clear. That's why I chose that particular image, because I want this to clear that up. But this is my brother and I on a hike, and he's more built for hiking than I am. Just FYI. So I asked the question, but I also know the answer. Do you ever find it difficult to describe you in a way that excites your ideal client? Now, the purpose of this class is, of course, to fix that with a guide to self-introduction, because soon you're going to be able to intrigue your ideal client both in person and on your About Me page, as well as not engage those who are not ideal. Oh, and as an added bonus, this is going to increase your confidence. That is one of the many things, but probably one of the number one things that I hear from photographers when I meet with them during that business assessment consultation. I usually do 2, 3, 4, 5 a week of those. And one of the things that comes out, maybe not right off the bat, but one of the things that comes out most of the time is somewhere, at least somewhere in their process, is an area that they lack confidence. And one of those things often is an introduction, being able to tell who you are, being able to cause yourself to be memorable, and also be able to isolate those who are the most ideal for what it is that you do. In my opinion, an effective self-description is a mini presentation that should trigger the interest of those who you want to work with. It does this by communicating specific information, enticing them to want to hear more. And so the goals, you know, each one of our individual goals is going to be different, but I can generalize this just a bit. At least consider these 4 basic goals. Number 1, your goal is to identify yourself. Okay, we know that one. Number 2, share a message that helps them recall your name later. Now, this may be easy for some of you. This may be difficult for others. But something simple could be, my name is Jim Landers, but please call me Jim. That's the extreme simple. It really doesn't cause people to remember you. Now, you could also be silly if it's appropriate. That's what you've heard before with the James Bond version. James Bond says, my name's Bond, James Bond. That's something you remember because of how he said it. Now, of course, because we've seen it in the movies, if we were to do that, that might be silly. And at some points, that's appropriate to be silly. But most of the time, we're going to be somewhere in between. I have one of my students, his name is Carell, and I'm probably going to mess up the way he says it. But he says his name in a way that causes people to remember it, because Carell is not a name you come across all the time. But he says it where it's care with 2 L's. Carell, care with 2 L's. That caused me to remember it. Very simple, but it caused me to remember it. Now, somebody with the name of like Jack Smith, that's a really simple name. It's one that you've heard a bunch of times. So Jack, you might have a harder time coming up with something, but I bet you can come up with something really well. You might already have something that's amazing. And I would assume he does, because he's very creative. So when we do something that causes them to remember who we are, remember our name, this is an advantage, because we normally, especially in social situations where you come across a lot of people, you meet, you're at some event, you meet, you exchange names, and within moments, you have already forgotten that person's name. You might remember what they do. You might remember something about them, maybe that they were with someone you knew, or something that they were wearing caught your attention. But man, we sometimes forget names, and we know how important names are. We know this. We also know that when someone remembers our name, it feels good. Well, that's what the kind of client experience you want to give your clients. You want them to feel good. And it starts by remembering their name. So make it easy for them to remember yours. Start there. Number 3, explain what you or your business does and or how you can benefit your client. And then number 4, compelling and actionable. Cause them to want to know you right now. Cause them to want to work with you right now. Give them a reason and make them feel smart for that choice. We're going to talk about that a little bit more detail. Now, we're going to talk about 3 different in-person versions and your About Me page. So 4 total versions. And the first, so here's the 3. So I suggest you create 3 different in-person versions. Yes, you will be saying these things, or someone will be saying them about you, but you will be saying these things. So you may think, well, why do I need to write this down? You write it down because it's easier for you to think that way. For most of us, I guess not everybody. But when you see the words and you're analyzing them, you've got a better, clearer picture, and you can make you can make good choices by looking at it, hearing it. And I'm going to tell you another way that you can do that here in just a little bit. But number 1 is self-introduction. Example, when you introduce yourself at some networking function. And networking could be a business networking. It could be just a social gathering. But you introduce yourself. Hi, my name is. Here's what I do. Number 2, an event introduction. This is when you are introduced by someone else. Now, as a photographer, you may think, well, why would anybody be introducing me? Yeah, one of the things I recommend in our marketing sections, and this actually is this is part of marketing. But one of the things I recommend is that you put yourself in the place where your clients see you. Whenever you say, I am a professional, and the way you say I'm a professional is just by saying, you can hire me. I am hireable. This is what causes you to be an expert in their eyes. And so therefore you've elevated yourself from wherever you were before to expert. You're claiming expert status. Anytime you say, you can buy this from me, you're claiming expert status. You may not feel like you're the number one expert out there, that there's people who know more than you. I get it. I understand that. It's not a comparison kind of thing. I mean, yes, you can compare, and humans are going to. But you are saying that I really enjoy this and I'm pretty darn good at it. And you're hiring those who aren't quite as good at it. So you have elevated yourself to expert status. So therefore, I think you should do speaking engagements. Maybe you're talking to a mom's group. Maybe you're talking to the neighborhood association. But I think you should put yourself in a position where your clients are to speak to them as the expert you want them to see you as. So you will have opportunity for people to introduce you if you do that part. So be ready for it. Number 3, just normal social interactions. When someone asks, what do you do? And people ask that question. I ask that question. I'm curious. I'm excited about what I do, and I assume others are too. I know not everybody is, but those that are, I want them to have an opportunity to share their story. They like telling their story. And if they don't, well, I find out and I don't bug them. But if they would like telling their story, I love hearing it. I want to hear it. I want to know. So those are the 3, the self-introduction, the event introduction, and the social interaction. So number 1 is self-introduction. This is where we're going to create our 30-second description using this template that you're seeing right here in front of you. Number 1, the first thing here is write down for yourself the common questions when you meet someone and what they might ask you. This is just to be prepared. What kind of questions do you hear all the time? What kind of questions do you ask? I want you to write these down because this gives you an opportunity to analyze them. What questions do you hear in social situations? If you know what the questions are ahead of time, then you can prepare. You can be ready to have intelligent responses. Second thing is answer those questions in terms of how it's beneficial to the person you're talking to. What is it that causes this to work for them? In fact, there's a retired banker named Edward Speed, wonderful guy, who said, when you're analyzing yourself, ask the question, so what? So what? As you're doing this. So you're saying something about yourself, respond to yourself, so what? So what else is there? Why are you telling me this? So respond to yourself that way. That way you can get a more descriptive way of speaking, a way of conveying what it is you're trying to say. Because then you'll realize that some of the things that we say don't really have a direct meaning to someone else, at least the ideal person that we would like to work with. In that section below this is the template. Hello, my name is. Now, you may say it exactly that way. You may say it totally different. They may say, hi, my name is, and then you respond with yours. So whichever way it goes, whether you start the conversation or they start the conversation. By the way, you should be prepared to start the conversation. If your goal is to get business, then forming relationships causes you to get business. So start those relationships. There's a lot of people that are too shy to do that. And so they rely on you to take the initiative. Next thing is business information. I am, and then the whatever, the title you are. I am a photographer, or I am the business owner, or I am the salesperson, whatever it is that you do. But I am of the business. Now, of course, this is a very basic template. We're going to get into more detail. And then what you do. an intriguing one-sentence description, the service you provide and the clients you serve. Again, from their point of view, how's it going to benefit them? A thought-provoking question, identifying a need, either known or unknown as of yet. A family portrait example would be, after you've identified what it is you do, you may ask this question. So I've shared with someone that I am Jim Landers, and I own Landers Photography, and that I specialize in, and I'll tell you what I specialize in because this is what I use. I specialize in emotional family portraits as home decor. Now, for those of you who want to write that down, I'm going to repeat it. I specialize in emotional family portraits as home decor. This hopefully gets the point across of I photograph families and I print it and put it on their wall, home decor. That's the point I want to get across. Now, I might leave it at that if they have already started talking. If they haven't, then I'm going to ask this question. When was the last time you had a fine family portrait created? And when I say fine, I might use a different word, but what I mean is not the snapshot that you do at the birthday party. Something that is, you've taken time, you've thought out, and it winds up on your wall. Something of that level. I want to make sure that I'm differentiating that from a snapshot. I may ask, how long do you think it will be until you do it again? So these are thought-provoking questions. They identify a need, and they may be known to that person I'm talking to already, or they may not have even thought about it yet. But I guarantee you, the majority of them aren't thinking about it. They aren't seeking you all the time. So therefore, I am causing them to think about it. And now that they've got me, they can ask questions. That's what I want. I want to attract those who are my target market, and those who have no interest at all in what I do. I don't want to attract them. Not because I don't like them or don't care. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, I want to identify those who are my target market so that we can have a conversation. Now, the next thing is the power question. How am I different, or how can I help? This answers how easily you can solve that need. That's my dog, by the way, if you heard that noise. I have a husky. All right, so answering the power questions. How am I different? How can I help? So as a business branding photographer, let's say. Now, I gave you the example of family portrait before. Now let's do a business branding. And you may or may not be familiar with business branding. It is a relatively new genre that a photographer might focus on. It has been around for a while, but it's relatively new. But it's where you have clients, often on retainer, that need constant refreshing of their images. Oftentimes, those who write blogs or have vlogs, someone who needs regular content, may hire a photographer on a monthly basis. And so this is where the business branding photographer would come in. And here's an example. When you are visiting with someone for the first time, you may say, we start with a strategy session where we analyze your goals, your intentions. Then we can create a way to better share your brand, which of course increases your income. So this is what I might say to them. Now, a compelling reason to act with the same person, the business branding photographer, to schedule a strategy session, just go to and tell them where that is. Now, this is something that if it's real simple, like your business name, so smithphotography.com. I don't know if that's your domain name, Jack, but let's say that it is. So something simple is go to smithphotography.com and you can sign up for it. If it's that simple, then say it. If it's not, then you need to hand them a card, or you need to have it as a V card, something that you can transfer from phone to phone, something that is very easy to share it with them. Could be a QR code. But make it very easy. Now, this is something you have to set up ahead of time, but have a calendar, like Calendly is one. There's a bunch of others. I use Calendly. That's Calandley, Calendly.com. And I have that set up where someone can easily access my schedule. Now, I don't want everybody easily accessing my schedule, but for those who I do want to make it easy. And so I just give them my calendar and say, when you get a chance, take a look at it. This is also very effective, and maybe even more so effective when it's via email. Someone has sent you a message, or maybe you have it on a certain page of your website, but maybe you don't, because again, do you want everybody having access to that? Your call there. Next, number 2 is how to create your 30-second description for an event introduction. Now, again, an event introduction is where someone is giving the intro for you. Now, it's possible you're doing your own intro. I get it. And so it could be that as well. But for this example, this is where someone else is giving your intro. I learned this in college when I was part of an organization called Program Council. This was at Sam Houston State University, and this is where I got my photography degree. But I was part of this group. It was not part of the photography program. This is just part of the university. But I was part of Program Council, and we had a significant budget. Now, this was the late 80s, early 90s. We had $106,000 budget to spend however we wanted to, but it had to be on things that were for students, or for gathering students. And so we brought in speakers, we brought in bands, we brought in all kinds of cool things, comedians. In fact, there's a handful, there's not a whole lot of bands from 30 years ago that are still around today. And there's not a whole lot of comedians or speakers that have been around that are still around from 30 years ago. But there is one that I would assume that some of you have heard of before. And I did his introduction at this event at my school. And that was Jeff Dunham. Have you heard of Jeff Dunham and Peanut, the ventriloquist comedian? You guys familiar with Jeff Dunham? Give me a thumbs up if you've heard of Jeff Dunham. Jeremiah, glad you're here.
I can make it. Just barely.
Oh, okay, good. A lot of you have heard of Jeff Dunham. That's awesome. Now, Jeff is a ventriloquist, meaning that he has something sitting next to him that he's trying to pass off as doing the talking. So he's got him talking in this other thing talking. We don't need to go into the details of it, but his shows are hilarious. He's definitely a funny guy. But I did his introduction back 30 years ago. And it was, a fun thing to do. But what I learned is he had already prepared it. He didn't ask me to come up with anything, spur of the moment. He knows I'm not the pro. He is. So he handed me his introduction. And all I had to do was read it real quick, understand it. I didn't want to have the piece of paper in front of me. And so, and it wasn't real long. So luckily I could remember what it was that was in it. But he handed it to me because he knew that I'd mess it up. And not me as in Jim, but the person who's doing the introduction. They're going to mess it up unless they know what it is to say. So therefore, prepare this for someone else. By the way, this is a good way. When you start preparing it for someone else, you get better about presenting it for yourself, because now you're totally analyzing it. You're seeing it from a different point of view. You're thinking about the different ways that they could say it. So I'm going to share my screen again because I want you to see this next part. Are you familiar with Google's text to speech? Yep, sure, you can read it. And I definitely recommend that you, once you create this, that you read it. But I want you to tweak the description above, the one you did for yourself. I want you to tweak the description above so that someone can read it about you. Then go to text to speech. That's, and you see this address right here. highlight that. Yeah. You guys see that address? I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put it in chat. I guess I have to stop the share to put it in chat. All right. So that's in chat now. But if you go to that address, anything that you have in text, you upload the text, it repeats it back to you. When you're hearing someone else say it, obviously this is not a someone, but still, when you're hearing the words that you wrote, you can better analyze it. And so that's one of the many things that I recommend. By the way, Mac users, you have one of these things built into your system. I'm not a Mac user, so. But the Mac, and PC may have one built into. I'm just not familiar with it. But when you upload your text, you can hear it back. And that way you can tweak it. You can make it even better. Definitely say it. Maybe even have a family member or friend read it. That way, when they're saying it, you'll hear the gaps, or you'll hear where someone who's reading it could make a mistake, and you can make corrections to it. Number two, excuse me, not number two. We just did number two. Number three, how to create your description for social interaction. And this is just for when you cross paths with someone and you have an opportunity to share what it is that you do. Create a 1-sentence description, something quick. A 1-sentence description of you and what you do that is compelling. And just shorten what you did in step 1. Shorten it. This is a quick description. Modify your message to address whoever it is that you're talking to. That's what's in that box over on the right side. Modify your message to address the group's or individual's goals and concerns. Sometimes. For my simple description, you heard it already, but I'm going to say it again. I specialize in family portraits. I'm going to say it again. I specialize in emotional family portraits as home decor. A 1-sentence description of you and what you do that is compelling. So, hi, my name is Jim Landers, and I create emotional family portraits as home decor. Those who have an interest in that will ask me questions. They will. Those who have no interest in it will say, oh, okay, good, yeah, and move on. And that's fine. I want this. I want those who are really interested, and I don't want to attract those who aren't. So I make it real easy. I am just a tool. There's a whole lot of tools out there. There's a lot of other photographers. I'm just one. I'm a tool, like at a tool store, Home Depot or Lowe's, or wherever you buy your tools. Ace, wherever. I'm just a tool on the shelf. I want to describe myself. I want people to know exactly what it is that I do so that I attract those. Just those. Now, how to convey your message? Well, listen and ask helpful questions. We want to communicate great information about ourselves and what we do, but we must also ask thought-provoking questions, and then not only listen to the responses, but understand those responses. You must determine if you can help them with your service, or suggest someone else, refer someone else. Yes, you can press the shutter release button in front of anything. But if you know someone who specializes in that, I think you should refer them. If you truly believe that you're going to give your clients the best, and you know someone who specializes in that, and you don't let's say newborns. Let's say you don't specialize in newborns. Maybe you've done one or two, but you really don't want to do them. Don't take that job. Now, I understand we need the money. I get it. But if your motivation is simply the money, then you're doing a disservice to the person you're supposed to be giving a great service to. Don't make your motivation the money. Make your motivation what your motivation already is. The things you enjoy photographing, the things you love to do. That's what you should be spending your time doing. And if you're not getting enough of that business, don't blame anybody but yourself. Find ways to express and to share what it is you do better with those who you want to do business with. It generally means you haven't focused your attention, your time on this well enough. The time you spend with someone, whether it's extremely short or you get a good amount of time to spend with them, no matter what, make this time beneficial to both parties. Win-win. Every single thing you do should be a win-win. Find a way to make it a win-win if it's not. By the way, if you can't figure out a way to make it a win-win, maybe it's not ideal for you. There's no reason to do win-lose or lose-lose. There's no reason to do that. Find a way to make it a win-win or don't do it. Always be concerned with how you can add value, even if it's just a phone call. If someone calls and asks me a question, if I don't know the answer, I probably won't just say, I don't know. I probably will say, I don't know the answer to that, but I think I know who might. And I tell them about that person and give them the contact information. Or if I don't have permission to give that contact information, or if I don't feel it's appropriate, I will ask for that person's contact information to share, and then that person can get back with them if they want to. If it's a photography job that I don't do, that I know someone who's really good at, I'm going to refer that other person. No matter what, I want to make sure that the time they spend, no matter how short, is beneficial. Behavior. First impressions often define you. You know this. In social situations, I'd suggest smiling. I am attracted to people who smile. I don't know about you guys, but I am absolutely attracted to people who smile. I see them as happy people. Now, I definitely understand that someone who doesn't smile doesn't mean that they're not happy. I get it. But what is the outward appearance? What is the first thing I'm seeing? Happy. I want more happy in my life, don't you? I'm attracted to happy. I want to be around happy. I don't want to be around things that aren't. So be happy. Convey an appropriate amount of calm, confidence, and enthusiasm. Make sure it's appropriate amount. You do see every once in a while someone who's got a ridiculous amount of enthusiasm, and it might feel like it's for show. So an appropriate amount. But you love what it is you do. You've got passion. You might actually have to hold it back a little bit, but share it. Make sure you are conveying it. The last four letters of enthusiasm are IASM. A photographer in Grand Rapids, Michigan taught me this. He said, IASM is the acronym for I am sold myself. I believe in what it is that I'm talking about. I'm sold myself. If you're not sold yourself, you're going to lack enthusiasm, or it's going to come across as fake. I recommend a firm handshake. Now, maybe with COVID stuff going around, you can choose whether that's appropriate or not. Pre-COVID, I would absolutely say a firm handshake. Post-COVID, up to you. I still like to give a firm handshake. If I feel like their hands are dirty or something, I have hand sanitizer in the car, no problem. I'm not worried about it because I have that. But for the most part, I'm not thinking about it. I want to interact with someone. I want to let them know that this is a good thing. And so socially here, at least in the US, it's appropriate to give a firm handshake and look them in the eye. No looking away, not looking at the next person you're going to talk to while you're shaking their hand. No, look them in the eye. All the attention is on the person you're talking to right now. They are the most important thing right now. Just for a moment, maybe, but right now. Look them in the eye, firm handshake. Say your full name and your one sentence description. Again, this is social situations. And I'm thinking networking events, like if you go to a Chamber of Commerce event. Please, when you are listening, when they're responding, telling you what it is they do, listen with the purpose of understanding. Now, I think in any communication, you should be doing that. If you're not listening for the purpose of understanding, then tell them, I'm not listening, and just leave. Maybe you say it in your own way, but don't fake it. Listen to understand. This is how communication improves. This is how we improve as groups or individuals. We improve by understanding. Listen to understand. Don't be preparing what you're going to say next. Listen to understand, not to respond. And then give them your card, some type of information that they can take with them, something to remember you by. Hand them your card. Now, for photographers, sometimes a card's appropriate. Sometimes something a little bit larger that I call an info card is appropriate. You will be able to tell the difference. If it maybe not right off the bat, but it's in many situations a card, maybe a 5x7 card. 6x9 is probably too big for this situation, but a 4x6 to 5x7 card that has your information on it, has your photographs on it, has testimonials under the photographs of each one of them, and has the next step. How do they contact you? Whatever it is that you want them to do as the next step, make sure it's very clear on that card. But the reason I say something a little bit bigger is so that you can give yourself room for that kind of thing. Business cards need to be relatively simple. Don't pack them with information. Keep them as simple as possible. But an info card, different story. And it has a whole lot of other uses that we talk about in other episodes of the Portrait Profit Show. An effective description grabs their attention and encourages interest, enthusiasm, and what I want, questions that I can respond to. And it serves as one of the most effective tools in promoting your business. At first, public speaking is awkward. It is intimidating. And eventually, and maybe it will always be that way for you, but at least if you are prepared, you have a greater amount of confidence. But after a while, you're going to see how prospects become curious and engaged, how even those who may not have seemed interested at first are now sharing it with others. I am surprised by the number of times I get a referral by someone who I didn't do business with. Makes you wonder how that even happened. They don't know you. They haven't worked with you. They may have seen you somewhere or crossed paths with you at an event, but they haven't ever worked with you, and yet they're referring you. You must have done something that caused that. Let's identify that something, because it's working. You start feeling and seeing successful results that continuously lift you up and increase your confidence. Now, I want you to test this with family, with friends, someone who's around you. Pay attention to their responses. Often people do not ask for more information or even just clarification. So you need to ask. Learn what they think works, what they think could be improved, what may be confusing or doesn't add very much to the conversation. Find out what they would still need to know in order to choose you, in order to want you, to work with you. By the way, I haven't stopped to ask if you guys have any thoughts or questions. So do you guys, those of you who are watching on Facebook, please feel free to post on the in the comments, but I won't be able to get to them until after the show. In fact, I have a class after this show, so I won't be able to get to them until after that class. But please feel free to do that. I do intend to go back and look at those. But those of you who are here on Zoom, just use your chat if you want to ask a question, or feel free to ask it right now while I take a sip of water. Is it that good you don't have any questions? Awesome. All right, you guys. So let me go back to the handout. And by the way, before I do that, let's see, where is... Oh, that's where it is. I've got a quick aside. Miguel, are you there?
Yes.
Is the connection still good? I've got a timeout message.
Let me check. To the broadcast?
Yeah. I have a feeling it's wrong, but I figure I better check.
I had looked over on just two minutes ago over at both pages, and it was up on both pages.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the heck that
Yeah, it looks like it's still running on as a photo.
Good. All right. So real quick, I want to tell you guys about something that Rob and I are doing at the end of the summer. This is August 8th through 12th. You know how hot it gets here in San Antonio. So how about meeting Robin and I in Colorado? And we're going to be in Durango from the 8th to the 12th, and we'll be with 2 other photographer instructors. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of cool stuff that you can photograph in the mountains, even photographing at night, photographing the Milky Way, because that's a perfect time of year to photograph the Milky Way. And we're going to be talking about different photo settings at night. We're going to be talking about portraits, outdoor and environmentals. We're going to be talking about weather and how it affects your photographs, and how the sun and how the clouds affect your photographs. A lot of fun stuff. You can see in the slogan, this is where fun, learning, and adventure converge. This is Durango. The name of our group is Pagosa Photo Workshops, and we this one won't be in Pagosa, but that's just the name. But this one will be in Durango. So I encourage you to go to pagosaphotoworkshops.com. I'll put that in the chat in just a moment, so you can find out more information about that. And this evening at 7:30, there's going to be one of the other instructors, his name's Mark Langford, is going to be talking about how Weather 101, how knowing Weather 101 makes your photographs better. And he's got a lot of cool tips, some things that I had thought about before, but I hadn't really done. And he's going to show you how easy it is to think about these things and give you some real life examples of how he learned it and how it plays in. But that's at 7:30. And the way to get some more information about that is by going to, and I'll type this into chat, by going to meetup.com/photo essay. So for some reason, it's not a link, so you'll have to copy and paste. I don't know why it's not a link. I guess I have to put the https:// in front of it. I might as well just do that. But that's this evening at 7:30, and it's only about an hour. So it is definitely not long at all. Am I going to email that out for this evening, Francis? Yeah, I won't. I don't think I'll get around to emailing it out. It is at this link. Okay. When you click on it, and if you're on our email list, which I know you are, then it is in the email that went out last night.
Okay, I have to look. Like I said, things been a little crazy, so I've been trying to.
Oh, I totally understand. So that information is there, and it's totally free. He is going to be talking about the Pagosa photo workshops at some point during it. But the information he's sharing, there's just like Portrait Profits, there's not a charge for it.
Okay, I do have a question about that though.
Okay.
The workshop. So, okay, I have friends who live in Colorado Springs. So they were wanting me to come visit.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of visiting them during the time. I know Durango is quite a ways away from Colorado Springs, but I'm used to driving. I don't mind the driving. I drive all the time. I mean, cross country, military, you just drive.
You get used to that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I was wondering if I go visit them, like, I guess I'd have to give it to you later. Like, how would that be? I haven't decided yet, but would I be able to go and just drive down there for the workshops or?
Yeah, there's 2 people that live, no, 3 that live in Colorado who are going, and they're not going to be staying at the hotel. They'll just be driving. Well, one of them's far enough away where they are staying at the hotel, but the other ones I think are just going to be coming in each day.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the other 2 teachers. They live in Colorado, and they'll be staying at the hotel.
Okay.
Obviously, for convenience purposes, staying at the hotel is the best way to go.
Yeah.
But sure, you can drive in. That's a lot of driving. But if you want to do that, the price of the event is just for the workshop. It doesn't include lodging or travel or any food. It doesn't include any of that. Although we are going to have a reception at the beginning and a dinner at the end that we will pay for. But for the most part, those things, the travel, the lodging, and the food is for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just wondering. I haven't decided yet, so I'm trying to work out some dates to see.
To make it work. Cool. Good. That's awesome. All right. Let's go back to the last section of your compelling description. Oops, that's not what I intended to share. Share screen. It moved. There we go. So the last section of this is something that is not done in person. This is your About Me page. And there's a ton of good stuff that you can do with an About Me page. I'm going to talk about lightly, I'm going to surface level 2 things and talk about one. But there's the text version where a visitor can read it. And then there's the video version where someone can watch it. Some people are more inclined to read. Some people are more inclined to watch. I recommend having both on your About Me page. I'm not going to be talking about the video part of it, but I believe the video part of it is important. So on an About Me page, on a website, now you may not call it About Me, you may have a different name for it, but you know what I'm talking about when I say About Me. I do believe you should have a text so that someone can read it. And I also believe that you should have a video. And the video is, there's companies out there that can help if you don't know how to do it. You could do something simple with your cell phone, but it's just you talking about what it is that you do in a way that compels that person who is your ideal target market to want to work with you. So the purpose of the text version or the video version, identical. And there's several different companies that do that. The one that I like the best is International Visual Marketing. Fabian Garza is the one who owns that company. But International Visual Marketing, you can look that up. Do a search online. But he creates these what he calls video business card, and they are really good. And it doesn't take him a huge amount of time. Now it does take him time to do it because he's got to sit down with you and get to know who you are, find out, this is a strategy session that I mentioned earlier. He sits down and finds out what you are and how to reach your goals, and then creates a script and a storyboard and shares that with you, and you approve it, and then you make it happen. And so it does take quite a bit of time. And he charges an appropriate amount. I want him to charge an appropriate amount. I want him to be in business 5 years from now. Those people who are charging bottom of the barrel amounts aren't around 5 years from now unless they finally get around to realizing they need to charge a regular price. But he charges a really fair price. I think his price is it's not that bottom level basement, but it's also not the most expensive I found either. I think it's just right. And he's a great guy and he's local. And I think you should go local. That's just me. But again, that's International Visual Marketing. And the owner's name is Fabian Garza. Fabian, good guy. Not Fabio. My wife said Fabio by accident just yesterday. Fabian Garza, International Visual Marketing. Good guy. And no, he has no idea I just said that. I just crossed my mind right now. I probably should share it. So no, he didn't. This is just me. So on your About Me page, the philosophy is the same. First, introduce in a memorable way. 2, define what you do in terms of how it benefits your ideal client. Number 3, cause that ideal client to want you right now. You want the action to happen now, not something that they say, oh yeah, I'll do that sometime in the future. Yeah. That sounds interesting to me. Yeah, no, you want to compel them to act now, because anyone who puts it off is very likely to forget you. They have a million things going on in their life right now. Do something that causes them to act right now. Make it easy for them to act now. And then, of course, number 4, make them feel smart for choosing you. People have buyer's remorse. They have doubts. Give them a reason why it's smart to choose you. That's going to be different for everybody. So I can't tell a group what the answer is to that question. Maybe if we have a private session, I could help you with that. But it's individualized. But make the person who is ideal for you feel like you're the only option. This is what I want. This is perfect. Now, I want you to be clear on something. You are exactly what many people need. They just need to know what it is that you are. As photographers, we are all tools in a tool store. Clients choose the tool they feel will do what they see is a good job. Our responsibility to ourselves and our prospects is to clearly define what kind of tool we are so that they can make the decision that is best for them. In turn, you need to make sure that they are right for you. Because a great client can raise your energy, keep you going. A bad one has the power to end a career. And I have heard that many times. I'll give you one example. I'm not going to say her name, but she had one bad client, gave her a hard time, really took her down, not just a notch, but to the bottom. Just not a nice person. This one client seemed to be a good client at first, but this particular photographer didn't visit with their clients ahead of time. So they actually didn't know. It was more of this person was willing to invest some money, so therefore she accepted the money. And most photographers do work that way. But what she did, what she chose, some things that weren't ideal happened, and it caused her to doubt herself a lot, to the point where that was her last client. Her last. She didn't do it anymore. Until 5 years afterwards. And somehow she wound up on the San Antonio Photography Facebook group and started looking around and seeing some posts and kind of reignited her interest in photography. Miguel, do you know anything about the San Antonio Photography Facebook page?
A little bit.
Hey, what can you tell us about it?
I like to think it's a pretty good group of pretty good people. Even though I did just have to, actually Angela just reacted on one that was getting a little interesting, but we try and take care of the group. The group largely takes care of itself. It's good people, very helpful people. I just sit back and kind of make sure we don't go too far off the road.
And there's a good number of people in that group as well. How many is
I
that?
think it's about 8,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, not all 8,000 participate regularly, but
Right. Yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
people all over Texas, people that visit, people within the, I guess you might call the metropolitan area, all the way up to Austin, down to the border, Corpus. And a lot of places just don't have an active group in their little niche of the world, so I let them play in ours. And like I said, I think we've got some good people in it.
I agree. Yep. Good group run by some awesome organizers. And one of those is, of course, Miguel. And I'm glad he's here with us today.
Thank you, sir.
So I want to make sure that you guys are thinking on, all I'm offering here is thoughts, advice, things from this one guy's point of view. I absolutely want you to tweak this. I want you to make it yours. I want you to add your flair into it. It isn't about me. It's about making sure that you share what it is that you do with those who you want to work with, so that they know it, so that they know that you are the right person for what it is that they want to do, for whatever that is. You just have to be you just have to describe what it is you do. And most of us have to start by describing what it is that we want. Now, I know photographers, when they start off, when we're young, we're too young, we're too new to know exactly what it is that we want. I get it. You're not wrong. But most of us will go ahead and jump in anyway. I think the place where you start is by defining who you are, what it is that you do, what's important to you. You know things that you like. Yes, I understand. You don't know everything. You're still growing, you're still learning, and you will be for the rest of your life. Hopefully. Define who you are just by listing the things you enjoy doing. What do I enjoy doing? What do I want more of in my life? Write it all down. Think about it, analyze it. All the different areas of your life, things that are personal, goals, fun things you want to do, social things you want to do with other people, family, things you want to do when you retire, things that are on your bucket list, all the different things that are part of your life that you want to have more of. Make a list of all that stuff. This helps define who you are and what it is you want out of this life. Know what it is. Most of us are the inflatable flailing tube man. Now, those of you who have been with me for a long time have heard me give this description before. Those of you who are newer may not have heard it. But most photographers are wonderful, awesome, passionate, dedicated people. Just wonderful, best people ever. And we go into whatever it is that we choose to go into with everything we've got. Blood, sweat, tears, it doesn't matter how many hours, we're doing this. We see something that sounds interesting. Maybe some other photographers doing something interesting. And so we learn about it a little bit, maybe do a little bit of research, and then boom, now we are the expert. And again, my definition of expert is you self-defining that you can do this. If you've elevated yourself to, I can do this, then you've elevated yourself to expert. In your client's point of view, I understand yours may not be the same. I get it. But from your client's point of view, you've elevated yourself to some level of an expert. So therefore, be that person for them. Study it. But again, too many of us just jump right into it. We are the inflatable flailing tube man. We're going all over the place. We're excited about this stuff. But we haven't defined who we are and where we're going. We have to define first who we are. We need to define next where we're going. What things do we want out of life? And then all of our decisions should be based through that filter. That'll cause us to do some things and not to do some things. We'll know when something that sounds really good, it might be really good, but it isn't good for what we're trying to accomplish. An example you guys may have heard me say before is if you are at one end of town, you're the northwest side of town, the northeast side of town, the southwest, wherever you are, but you want to get downtown. If you're just defining, I want to get downtown, you've at least done one thing. You've defined the destination. Awesome. Good for you. A lot of photographers don't define their destination. And if they do, it's short-term, not long-term. But defining your destination from point A to point B. I want to get from here to downtown. Along the path, you may see something that's really good, something you really like. Let's say it's a coffee shop. I know not everybody likes coffee, but let's say that everybody likes coffee. Along the path, you may say, coffee shop, that's a good thing. I'm going to do that. And you're excited and you go into it with passion because you love the stuff. But you failed to do one thing before you did that. You must put it on what it is that you're doing on a timeline. So you're defining who you are, where you want to be, and a timeline for it all. Because if you've defined, let's say it takes 20 minutes, say it takes 30 minutes to get to downtown, 30 minutes to get to downtown. I need to be there in 30 minutes. I've defined a timeline. If it is 1:30 and I need to be downtown by 2, is stopping at a coffee shop a good thing in general? Yes, it is, if you like coffee. But is it good for you if it's 1:30 and you need to get downtown by 2? Is it good then? No, not for you. It doesn't mean that it's not a good tool. It's not a good thing. It is a good thing, but it isn't good for you right now. And if you don't define your timeline, first again, what it is, who you are, where you want to be, and a timeline to get those things. You've got to define these things, because if you don't, you'll stop by that coffee shop and you won't ever get downtown in 30 minutes because of it. But you won't even know. This is where ignorance comes in. We don't know what we don't know. When we stopped at the coffee shop, it felt good. So therefore we put it mentally in the good category. I get it. I do it too. That's why we've got to define this stuff. Don't give an excuse of I'm new. I don't know yet, because the information exists. Seek it. You'll waste a lot of time if you don't. And you will struggle if you don't. And most will fail if they don't. 19 out of 20 photographers who try to start a photography business fail to be profitable. They just don't know it, because they've charged $100, $200, whatever for a session. They think, well, I've got $200 more than I had before, therefore I've got 200 in profit, right? No, that's not how it works, because your time has value. And most photographers, I have this little formula where I find out how much someone is worth per hour based on their own pricing, their current pricing. And I can help you with this. I can do this during your 30-minute free consultation, your private session with me. I can do this with you. But I can tell you how much you're worth per hour based on what you charge. Most photographers charge an amount that is so low, they don't even give themselves potential to make a profit, but they are ignorant of it. They don't know what they don't know. All of us are in that category, but the information exists. And so if you continue without knowing, it's your fault. Don't blame, I just didn't know. The information is there. Seek it out. I can help you with that. So I want to, before I close this, I want to ask you guys have any other thoughts or questions? Well, if you're thinking about that, yeah, thank you, Jack. I definitely want to thank you guys for staying with me all the way to the end. I hope that you've enjoyed this lesson, and I look forward to watching you grow. I hope to see you at each and every Portrait Profit show. Again, this is Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School working together to make this happen, because we want to uplift the photography community. So if you want to be uplifted and you believe that it's beneficial for others to be uplifted, share the Portrait Prophet Show. Let others know about it. Don't keep it to yourself. Because when we uplift us and those around us, we all get lifted up. The price that we have that at one time felt really, really high becomes normal. Those photographers that are charging an amount that they can't make a profit on become aware and they stop doing that. Help them. Help you. Share the Portrait Prophet Show every single Monday at noon, except for the second Monday of every month when it's at 6:30. But it is every single Monday. Javi, did you have any last words for the show before we close it?
No, I think what you said at the end is super important. You know, spread the word about this. It only helps to uplift the entire community if you kind of can set a new standard for what our work is worth. Like Jim was saying, you know, there's obviously a lot of people, everybody, you know, uses photography to serve different purposes. For some people, you know, it's just a little side hustle. For some people, it's they want to be their full-time job. If you fall into that second category, yeah, Jim's right. Charging $200 for a shoot ain't going to cut it. And so I think just the more that we disseminate this information, the easier it's going to be and the less, you know, less stressful it's going to be to present, you know, your pricing to clients. And it's going to be you're going to have to do a lot less on your end to justify your worth, because it just becomes what the worth of photography is in San Antonio. And so, like Jim was saying, you know, one of the best things you can do is just share this and help, you know, get more people in and help educate. So yeah, thank you very, very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Javi. Appreciate you. And I just in the chat put in the free consultation link. And that's, I think it was there before, but just in case it's there again. So calendly.com/photo. I spelled photo school wrong. That link won't take you anywhere. I'm going to fix it real quick. That's what happens when I just type it in.
Photo school.
So that should be the correct link, the most recent one. Please ignore that first one I gave. So again, this is, if you want to have, and it's free, and I'm not even going to try and sell you anything. I seriously want to help out the photography community. Just like Javi was talking about, we both want to do this. And so there's a ton of stuff we do in addition to our regular stuff that we're not charging anything for. This is an example of it. That 30-minute consultation, another example of it. The photo essay club that I host and that Digital Pro Lab is a sponsor of. These are things that we're losing money on, but we are helping the photography community. We're uplifting. This is the right thing to do. So that's right. Jeremiah signed up for a free session, a private session on Friday. Thank you for bringing that up, Jeremiah. By the way, well, anyway, I look forward to it on Friday. That's going to be awesome. So any last questions before I close this out? Thoughts? Hopefully I'll see you guys tonight at 7:30. Again, you go to meetup.com/photo essay for additional information on that class, that free class tonight about how knowing Weather 101 is beneficial to your photography. It really is. So that's tonight at 7:30. And we have lots of other stuff going on. You can go to landersphotoschool.com. You'll see quite a few things that we have scheduled coming up for this month and always. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab. This is Jim Landers bringing you the weekly Portrait Prophet Show, giving you evolving content, awareness, and even fun to the business side of photography. We provide helpful information, step-by-step processes, how-to articles, and action steps that will help you with the struggles you deal with now, so you are constantly realigned to the path that leads to the success you deserve. Thank you for being here at the Portrait Prophet Show. I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Bye-bye.